this man by the name, his last name was Robbie, and in the late 50s, early 60s, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for physics. And you guys want to know what the Nobel Prize is, right? It's a really big deal, like internationally. Well, anyway, he wins this prize, and they asked him, what did he credit winning for? You know, who did he credit winning to? And they thought he was going to say some great teacher that he had or whatever it may be. But he said, it was my mother. And the men that were at the press conference were very confused, and they said, why your mother? And he said, because every day that when he came home from school, and that included 5th grade like you guys, he said every day when he came home, his mother didn't say, what'd you do in school today? What's the first thing y'all's parents say to you when you get in the car or when you get off the bus? How was school today? Yeah, what'd you do today? So his mother never ever said that to him from the time that he was in 1st grade on. When he would get off the bus and come in the house, she would say, what questions did you ask today? So all the way through school, till he was a senior in high school, he was asked, what questions did you ask today? And he said, learning from his mother, that it was more important to ask questions than to always have the perfect answer, taught him to be a better thinker. And that's what you guys are going to learn today. You guys go over the 4 rules of QFT. So from this point on, I'm going to call it QFT because to say question formulation technique all the time, it's a little redundant, okay? So for the most important rule, or the first rule, I shouldn't say most important, the first rule is ask as many questions as possible, okay? So remember that. Rule number 1, ask as many questions as possible. Rule number 2, do not, in capital letters, not stop to judge, answer, or discuss the questions. Today is about question formulation. It's about creating questions. It's not going to be about answering those yet or anything. It's just about creating. So do not stop to judge, answer, or discuss the questions. Write the question exactly as it is stated. Now what that means, that's even you by yourself. Let's say I have you guys, I may have you all today do questions by yourselves. More than likely you're going to do it as a group. But if you're later on when you do this with Miss Stambo, and she has you guys write the questions by yourselves, if a question pops in your head, write it down even like it is in your head. Don't take the time to say, oh, does this sound grammatically correct? Or did I spell every word correctly? Or is this a bad question? Don't do that because today is about questions. We're not going to say if it's good. We're not going to say if it's bad because it's a question. All questions are needed. Every question is important. And something else I want to convey to you all. Today is a judgment-free zone. I am never, ever at any point today going to look at you and say, this is a pretty good question, or that's a great question, or that's a bad question. I'm never at any point going to do that. Today we need all questions, so every question goes on the board. And then the last one, if you have a statement, we need you to change it to a question. I'm going to ask you guys, which rule is going to be the most difficult for you to follow? Which rule is the hardest for you? And then number 2, why would this rule be difficult for you to follow? You don't have to share because this is a reflection, but if you'd like to share, I'd love for you to do that. So yes, sir, which rule is going to be the hardest for you to follow? What's your name first? What's your name? Adam? Okay, Adam, which rule is going to be the hardest for you to follow?
Don't stop to judge or answer.
Okay, don't stop to judge, answer, or discuss. Why is it going to be hard for you?
Because I always thought that you had to check your answer.
Like right then. Okay, what's the name of this technique I'm teaching you all today? Do you remember? Question Formulation Technique. So guess what it's not about today, Adam? We're not talking about answers yet. Because we're going to use those questions to teach us stuff. So no answers today. Thank you. And scribes, when you all write, we don't say, I'm not writing that one down because I have one like it. No, you say, thank you. And you write that question down. So a question focus is something that you look at or you study. And when you look at it, you decide what questions you want to ask or that you need to know. Okay? Here we go. Look at that and ask as many questions as you possibly can. Share it with everybody. And I got to tell you, I appreciate your hard work. Can you give yourselves one big happy clap? Now that you've created those questions, now we're going to categorize those questions. Okay? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what that means. We're going to go through and look at each one of these questions, and we're going to figure out if it's a closed or an open. Closed questions means, I have a kindergarten teacher that teaches this to her students. She tells her kids, if you could open and close your mouth really fast like a crocodile or alligator, which means yes, no, maybe kind of thing, then that's a closed. But if you have to open that mouth for a really long time and use a lot of words, that is an open, and she calls that a hippopotamus mouth, okay? Because you know how they take a really long time to yawn and it's really, really big. So here's what I need you guys to do. Give it a C if it's closed, and give it open if it's open. All you're going to be responsible for doing is reading the question out loud to the group and saying, group, is this a closed or an open question? Got it?
Got it.
Give me a nod. Got it? Good. Ready? You got 2 minutes. Get busy. Identify all of those as either closed or open.
How many people told their teacher?
That would be, I think it would be 8.
Now what we're going to do is we are going to improve our questions. So what I want you guys to do is to take one of your closed-ended questions. Now, did anybody have a closed question? Because I was walking around the room and everybody told me all of theirs was open. Were all of yours open? Wow. So guess what you have to do now? Take two. One of yours was closed? Good. Make it open. Take that one closed and make it open. The rest of you, take 2 of your open and make them closed. And add them to the bottom of your list. So how would you change that question to make it closed? You can change the first word. Then I want you to write your 2 questions that your group came up with. Write down the 2 questions that your group came up with. What I want you to tell me is, why did you choose the questions that you chose? Now I want you to think about what you all did in the group just now that you left. Why did you pick, and I want you to write it down, why did you pick the questions that you picked? What we're going to do, one row at a time. I want you guys to take your pencil with you when you go, okay? So one row at a time, and this row is going to go first. Now go to each poster, and I want you to choose one question from each poster and vote with a check mark. So just go read it and pick whichever question you like the best on that. Let's sit down and discuss who we need to talk to, where do we need to go to solve this problem. So how did QFT help you today? How can you use what you learned about asking questions today? Rayleigh, what have you learned new about asking questions?